Let us begin our program by opening ourselves up to receive every blessing and bounty from the Lord. Let us feel the presence of our Lord, and may He bless us and this event through this doxology. Let us remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayan
Thank you very much. You may now take your seats and join us once again. This is Richard Burgos, and I will be your host barista for this morning's Coffee Chat with 𝐾𝐄 on DOST's 63rd anniversary. All right, nakita niyo naman, para tayong nasa isang coffee shop sa umagang ito. Okay? And sabi nga ni Prabhu Krishna, CEO of Yantrix Tech, a digital transformation agency, some of the world's most effective thoughts happen over a brew of morning coffee. Do you agree with that? I'm sure our guests who are with us today agree with that because they agreed to have this setup. Okay, coffee is still the world's #1 favorite beverage. Okay, and it's a great way to start any day. Okay, so I'd like to thank the people who arranged this coffee shop setup here in AMSEN. Okay, our venue for this event was just launched yesterday. AMSEN stands for Advanced Manufacturing Center, and it will promote research and development in additive manufacturing, also known as 3D printing technology. Please check out their website at amsen.dost.gov.ph for more details. Okay, so brand new facility, ang ganda-ganda, 500 million pesos, I think, or more worth. And this is really exciting. Even Secretary Dominguez was excited about it when he spoke yesterday at the inauguration. Okay, and going back to our event, you who are joining us on Zoom as well as on Facebook Live, please be very attentive because this is an opportunity not only to learn something about DOST accomplishments, but also probably to earn a few exciting prizes. Okay, first off, participate in our coffee thought contest. All right, you will see a graphic of the event with the bubble there, and we challenge you to craft a statement, a thought, expression. What could Secretary Boy be thinking on a day like this when we are celebrating 63 years of accomplishments and milestones at the Department of Science and Technology? So your caption, your coffee thought, write that down and use the Google form provided in the Facebook post and the Zoom chat room. And 𝐾𝐄 will choose the top 3 winners to receive isang pampagising showcase. Okay, we are looking for the top 3 entries that can best fit the thought bubble and capture the essence of our coffee chat with 𝐾𝐄 today. All right. Now, okay, there's another challenge that we'd like to pose early on in our show. Okay, so we're looking for the best looking coffee mug for today. Okay, so hold on to your coffee mugs because the bearers of the 7 best mugs will win more nerve stimulating prizes. So you can enjoy curved coffee packages sponsored by Equilibrium with your family and office mates. Okay, so ayan po ang ating setup. Welcome po sa ating coffee chat with Sec Boy on DOST's 63rd anniversary. Okay, and as we start off, we are really very fortunate that we have an opportunity to have with us, joining in this coffee chat, experts from their respective fields. And starting with Secretary de la Peña, we'd like to ask them, how do you prefer your coffee? Sec Boy, in the morning, when you order coffee, how do you prefer your coffee? What kind of coffee do you order?
Well, we have a brewed coffee at home, and I put in virgin coconut oil.
Wow! Bakit virgin? Bakit virgin coconut oil ang ilalagay nyo sa coffee ninyo?
Yun na yung pagpapaalala sa akin kasi pagka hindi ko pa sinama sa kape, makakalimutan ko na.
Ayun! Meron palang side effect ang coffee. Parang memory enhancer pala yun. Use Gev. Kayo naman po, how do you like your coffee?
Yan ang bisyo ko sa umaga. I have a cappuccino in the morning para mapait at matapang. At saka sweet din.
Mapait, matapang, at manamis-tamis.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Yusek Gev. Yusek Sancho Mabborang, our latest, our newest Undersecretary, and is in charge of regional operations. Okay. Yusek Sancho, how do you like your coffee?
Thank you, Director Richard. I like my coffee sweet and hot.
Sweet and hot. Yung isa virgin, kayo naman sweet and hot. Very good. Yusek Rene, how do you like your coffee?
Well, I like my coffee black. No sugar, no cream, and not so hot. Kasi nakakapeso.
Hot but not too hot. All right, so there you have, ladies and gentlemen, our key guests this morning for the show, Secretary Fortunato de la Peña of DOST, Yusek Rowena Guevara for R&D, Yusek Sancho Mabborang for regional operations, and Yusek Renato Solidum for disaster risk reduction and scientific and technological services. All right. And we also have a special coffee expert as a guest, the president and co-owner of Equilibrium, a leading distributor of coffee and cafe beverage products and equipment in the Philippines. Let's welcome engineer Eric Cruz. Ayan. Hi, Eric.
Hi, Richard.
Okay, so we'll have how do you prepare your coffee in the morning?
Every morning I prepare my own. I have a stovetop mocha pot or espresso maker with milk, just like you said, Kev.
Mocha
with milk.
or
No sugar, but with milk.
espresso, but not too sweet. No sugar, in fact. Okay, siguro may problema sa diabetes si Eric. O wala pa naman siguro. Okay.
Konti.
Yeah, but be careful about the sugar you put into your coffee because too much of it, can be, nefarious. Okay, all of these experts from the Science Secretary up to the private sector, kaya naman, let's hope that after this coffee chat, something as amazing as coffee will be brewing right where you are, wherever you are joining us in this event. Malay natin magkaroon na rin ng sariling coffee shop sa DOST, di ba? Bago ang ating Central Office building. We look forward to its inauguration and sana naman merong magandang coffee shop doon where people can congregate, exchange things and maybe ideas and project ideas and celebrations also over our milestones. Okay.
Libre kape.
Libre na pa ang kape, sabi ni Secretary Boy. Okay, so at habang tinitimpla natin ang mga order na kape ng ating mga guests, ano nga ba ang mga pag-uusapan natin ngayon over our cups of coffee? First, let's get back to DOST's best years. Babalikan din natin ang 60th anniversary video ng DOST na inilunsad natin noong 2018. And lastly, to further enjoy and appreciate your brewed beverages at home or in your office, pag-uusapan natin paano ba makakatulong ang DOST sa ating local coffee industry. Yan, exciting, hindi po ba? You can actively participate in our coffee chat by sending us your questions. Grab your phones now or ball pens and list your possible questions. We will monitor them as we go along with our kapihan. You can send in your questions to the Google form provided in the Zoom chat room as well as on Facebook Live, and we'll review them later on. Okay. So, sa ating mga panelists, salamat for spending time with us this morning. At sa ating mga audiences, wherever you are, on Facebook and on Zoom, I hope masarap ang kape ninyo. Kasi dito sa amin, masarap talaga siya. Mapa-black man ito o latte, kahit na 3-in-1, okay, pwede rin, basta may kape. Dahil the best ang araw mo kapag nakapagkape ka na. Okay, so, usapang best din natin tayo. Though lahat ng years ng DOST ay, sa tingin ko ay meron namang best na nangyayari, no? Tingnan natin ang best of the best years ng DOST. So to help us reminisce those years, let's call on Secretary Boy. Secretary Boy, ano ba talaga? Ikayo na yata ang pinakamatagal na nilbihan dito sa Department of Science and Technology. And in your recollection, ano po yung mga best years of DOST?
Well, of the 63 years, I have witnessed the 40. Of course, the earlier years, I have learned from what I heard and from the records. The first 2 decades, since 1958, when the National Science Development Board was created, was mainly devoted to start the Human Resource Development Program. So we had the NSDB scholarships started, which grew to what we have now today, which is a very big program. That was also the start of collaborative research. For example, that was done well together with the Department of National Defense. We had the project Santa Barbara, which focused on, I think this was on cloud seeding. And then I remember the start of the research on geothermal energy with Commissioner Alcaraz. It was not yet PBOX at that time. It was the Commission on Volcanology. And most of the first 2 decades were devoted to create research and development and science and technology organizations that later on became part of the Department of Science and Technology. So I can mention, for example, our Forest Products Research and Development Institute in Los Baños. It started as an agency, I think under the Department of Natural Resources. And then we had the Metals Industry Research and Development Center, started under DTI, same with the Textile Research Institute. But the older ones, of course, have been there existing, actually pre-existing the DOST, like Pag-asa, which was there since 1865, and the Industrial Technology Development Institute since 1901. But we also had, during the first 2 decades, I think many breakthroughs in research that was supported in the area of agriculture. So this prepared us, for example, for yung mga Masagana 99 programs, so the horticulture part. Okay, we had many breakthroughs there. In the 80s, this was the time when I joined, actually, early 80. And this saw the birth of the transition from the National Science Development Board, which is a board. Okay, it became the National Science and Technology Authority, which had already administrative supervision over several institutes. Okay, so that was the time I first joined as head of the planning service, but I was on loan from the University of the Philippines College of Engineering. So the best programs I remember then were, well, first of all, the creation of the Research and Development Councils in 1982. So with just one, the one devoted to agriculture, or PCARRD, in 1972. In 1982, we had two more, the one devoted to industry and energy, PCARRD, and the one devoted to health research and development. And of course, that was the time when the policy of, how do you call it, demand pull strategy for R&D was adopted, meaning to say, have a feel of what the sectors you serve need for R&D, and then do the R&D in those areas. So that was also the time when we started having contract research and development with our institutes. And this was the time when several products, not necessarily high-tech, but very useful to our people. I remember they were sort of chiding us by saying SNT is suka and toyo, because we were promoting at that time, because people needed to do some processing of their agricultural products. Okay. Anyway, in the 80s also, we saw that the so-called scientific career system was officially instituted. So scientists can remain researchers doing, well, a scientist, work as scientists without being administrators, and yet going up the rank in the civil service. So that was that. In the 90s, of course, that was the time when I headed the Technology Application and Promotion Institute. The main trust at that time, and this was under Secretary Puliosco. The earlier years, I remember, were under Secretary 𝐃𝐿𝐵. Under Secretary Puliosco, we focused on what we call technology transfer and commercialization. So he ordered an inventory of all R&D that was done by the agencies of DOST and the universities and other institutions we supported, and required that the R&D be assessed whether they are ready for adoption or for use. So that was the time when we had different categories of technology transfer. We had technology transfer that was exclusive to specific companies. For example, we were then selling the technology for citric acid. Okay, that was exclusively for big companies. Okay, then we had the so-called technologies that can be adopted by anybody. Okay, no licensing fees. So if you want to make soap, if you want to make vinegar, if you want to make whatever products out of food processing, that will be transferred free. And there were also technology transfer that involve it's like adopting a community and taking a look which technologies can be adopted in the community. We had, of course, a breakthrough in the year 2000 when we started our program for small and medium enterprises. This is the setup small enterprises technology upgrading program, which was actually a sort of extension of what we started then, the manufacturing productivity extension program. And earlier, in the early 90s, was the setting up of the first technology business incubators. I think in this region, in Southeast Asia, we were the first to set up the technology business incubators. Unfortunately, the support, okay, was not maintained. It was only in the, I think, 2010s already that we had invested heavily on technology business incubators. But I remember I was the one who was assigned to put up the Diliman Technology Business Incubator. Okay, so that was those were the years I remember. And of course, more recently, I also remember the so-called high-impact projects, high-impact technologies during Secretary Monteo's time, when we had this development of various equipment that will be used, okay, for food processing or for other purposes. And of course, the technologies for mass transportation. So I remember that very well. Now, there was also a time when we were in charge of ICT, before the DICT was created. And we, at that time, were the overseer of the government part, okay, of ICT development. Okay, so we, DOST chaired the government subcommittee of this particular program. So those are the things I remember. So I'm sure that my colleagues remember more.
All right. I'm sure also that your coffee must be very effective because your memory cells are at full work. Okay? Nandyan po sila, full force po sila ngayon. Kikita naman natin from the salaysay ni Secretary. Okay? Reminiscing about 40 years of service in the department. Ang tagal-tagal na po noon. At nag-umpisa pala tayo sa mga collaborative projects like cloud seeding. Parang we don't hear these things anymore. Ano, ha? But cloud seeding was something that we needed to do at the time. And many agencies are involved here. Okay, cloud seeding, bakit ba tayo nagka-cloud seeding? Para umulan siya kung kailangan natin ng ulan, di po ba? And then harvesting our geothermal energy resources. Okay, so nanguna tayo dyan at the time, I think, and until now, we're still a force to reckon in the area of geothermal energy. Nakakatuwang isipin na yung mga institutes natin at mga councils, meron silang dahilan kung bakit sila sumulpot. Ano ha? Okay, but through all of these accomplishments, meron akong nakitang isang magandang common thread. And that is in the area of developing science and technology human resources. Okay? So, yung NSDP pa noon, NSA pa, they were already concerned about developing a pool of scientists, engineers, and researchers. Okay, hanggang ngayon po, yan po ang tinutunan natin ng pansin sa Department of Science and Technology. At nakapag-engender pala tayo, no? One entire department of government came from DOST, and that is the DICT. Okay, so maganda rin siyang gunitain natin sa araw na ito, kung saan 63 years na ng DOST ang ating history, ay punong-puno pala ito ng mga significant accomplishments. Now, punta naman natin dun sa area ng research and development. 𝐂𝐿, gusto niyo yung kape niyo matapang at matamis. Ano naman ang matapang sa ating R&D efforts? At ano naman ang matamis? Maybe you can share with us your thoughts.
Ako yata yung pinaka-short ang service sa DOST dito. 9 years pa lang ako sa DOST. So pag tinanong mo ako exciting years, di syempre 1 decade yung aking sasabihin. Alam mo, from 2011 to 2016, yung R&D funding ng DOST increased from 1 billion to 7 billion. So every year tumataas siya. Tapos noong 2016, inumpisahan natin yung Science for Change program, wherein one of the heart of the projects there are the NICER or niche centers in the regions for R&D. Dahil nakaproduce na tayo ng maraming researchers, scientists, and engineers, kailangan nating ikalat yung research sa buong bansa. And the Science for Change program is doing exactly that. Na nagpupunta tayo sa mga regions at nagtatayo tayo ng mga niche centers in the regions for R&D. I'm very happy to report we have established 35 NICERs in just a matter of 5 years. Tapos, ang maganda pa, along the way, nakapag-launch tayo ng Diwata 1, Diwata 2, Maya 1, at pinanganak ng DOST ang Philippine Space Agency. At masasabi ko na noong 2020, nakita mo talaga yung buong decade na yon kung paano tayo na-judge globally. Kasi sa Global Innovation Index, nasa number 50 na tayo. Nanggaling tayo sa number 100 in 2014. So in just 6 years, from 100 to number 50, pinapakita na ang mga Filipinos, ang tawag sa atin ay efficient innovators. Kasi ang input natin, hindi naman ganun kalakihan, pero grabe yung output natin. Tapos si Secretary kasi ang tawag namin sa kanya, the father of technology transfer. Siya talaga yung bumuno ng technology transfer law na ginamit naman natin from 2016 onwards na-enable natin yun ng mga polisiya at saka nag-fund talaga tayo. Kaya sandamukal na ngayon na natatransfer natin na technology. At syempre, hindi natin ito magagawa without the help of our regional offices kasi sila talaga yung nagpupush dun sa ating mga regions para ma-adapt itong mga technologies.
Wow! So ang dami rin pala natin nagagawa sa area ng science and technology, lalo na sa research and development. Nabanggit ni 𝐃𝐿, ano ha? She has seen our budget grow from 1 billion to 7 billion. Okay, ilan na ba nga ang budget natin ngayon, ma'am?
For R&D lang yun, ha?
For R&D, 1 to 7. That's a big leap, no? And maybe that's also a big leap of faith on the part of our government na kailangan talaga nating bigyan ng resources ang research and development.
Pero Richard, ang pangarap natin ay maging batas yung Science for Change para next year maging 10 billion yung ating R&D budget. Tapos sa 2023, maging 20 billion, tapos 40 billion, 80 billion.
Gusto kong pakinggan yung mga bilyon-bilyon na yan. Okay? Kasi nga naman, ang dami natin naririnig, mga policymakers, mga people in the legislative, and even the executive na gusto nila yung suportahan ang science and technology. But many times, the resources are not yet forthcoming. No? Parang nababack burner tayo. So nakakatuwa namang isipin na in the future, meron tayong pag-asa na lumago ang ating resources for research and development.
Director Richard, siguro pabanggit lang natin kay 𝐿𝐿 yung mga ibang mga highlights naman ng mga research and development institutes na sinusupervise niya. For example, hindi ko nabanggit yung mga ibang ahensya, nabanggit lang yung MIRDC at saka PTRI. Nagaling pa sa ibang departamento yun, inilipat sa atin. Pero yung iba na talagang sa atin na noon pa, halimbawa yung Atomic Energy Commission at that time, halos kasabayan ng DOST tinayo eh. So, siguro you ask 𝐿𝐿.
𝐿𝐿, may experience ba kayo dito? Pati pala ito, atomic energy, okay? Kasabay ng geothermal energy, the peaceful uses of atomic energy in the country.
Hindi na atomic energy ang tawag natin ngayon, no? Nuclear.
Nuclear energy.
Oo. Ang PNRI, ang maganda sa kanya, nahikayat na niya ang private sector na mag-invest sa nuclear irradiation facilities. Ibig sabihin yan, makakapag-export na tayo in the countries na requirement yung irradiation. Pero bukod dyan, ang dami nilang tinayo ng mga bagong facilities para ma-improve ang nuclear SNT in the country. Ang pinaka-favorite product nila ay yung carrageenan, which is irradiated and therefore can improve the yield of rice by 30%. You just use the carrageenan plant growth promoter. Tapos sabi ni Sir ASTI, Advanced Science Technology Institute, siya yung nagsilbing parang surrogate ng Philippine Space Agency kasi nandoon lahat yung Pedro, which is our ground receiving station, tapos yung mga research dati natin for datos, which is storing the data coming from the satellite, nandoon din. Yung core, nandoon din. Yung �ஸAR na binili natin na subscription from UK for 8 years para mabantayan natin yung West Philippine Sea at saka yung Philippine Rye. So, nasa ASTI yun. Tapos yun na mga Forest Product Research and Development Institute, sila ngayon ang leading research for bamboo musical instrument and other uses of bamboo, which is a very good renewable resource. Tapos syempre, wag nating kalimutan ang FNRI, which has been conducting the National Nutrition Survey at binuhay nila yung 𝐸nutriban. Diyan, may sample tayo dyan. Tapos, ang maganda pa, nakapakita nila na nag-i-improve talaga yung nutrition ng bansa. Yung ating malnutrition, bumababa na dahil doon sa kanilang malnutrition reduction program. Siyempre, wag nating kalimutan ang ITDI, Industrial Technology Development Institute. During the start of the pandemic onwards, ang dami talaga nilang produce from emergency food, all the way to face shields, pati mga iba't ibang klase ng disinfectants and so on. Pero ang pinakamaganda nilang ginagawa ngayon ay yung Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines. Sila naman yung magpapanganak noon. surrogate.
Wow! Ang dami ring natulong ng ating mga research and development institutes, alright, sa ating bansa. Nabanggit ni 𝐃𝐿 yung papel ng halimbawa FPRDI in promoting bamboo, not only as a construction material, but also even as a musical instrument material. Nakakatuwa po yan. And how some of our agencies, for example, yung ating Carrageenan Plant Growth Promoter, that's going to be a radical booster to our economy if they can improve the yield of our rice crops. The Philippines remains to be one of the biggest importers of rice hanggang sa kasalukuyan. At kailangan natin palitan yung sitwasyon na yan. Ang sagot ay nasa research and development po. Okay? So ngayon naman sa pandemya, nakikita natin na kailangan din natin magkaroon ng native capacity to lead research and development in the area of, like say, vaccine development, okay, virology, and all these things. So, yung VIP, Virology Science Institute of the Philippines, talagang VIP yan. Okay? Hindi lang dahil pandemic tayo ngayon, but because we cannot do away with viruses. Hindi lang sa tao, sa ating mga animals, pati din sa ating mga plant products. Okay? So, viruses are here with us to stay. We need to master the science behind how to control viruses. Okay, so ang dami rin pala natin nagawa in the area of science and development. Yung science for the people. Okay, science for the people. Battle cry yan ni Secretary. We will give him an opportunity to explain that later on. But nakakatuwang isipin, lahat ng ginagawa natin kailangan ay mag-redound to the benefit of our people. Now, Yusek Rene, nabanggit earlier ni Secretary Boy, nasa umpisa pa lang nag-cloud seeding na tayo. And this has to do with the way we have to look for solutions to our weather-imposed problems. No? So ano naman po ang recollections ninyo or reminiscences ninyo sa ating mga milestones related to the weather and other natural hazards and how we can be masters of our situation in this area?
Maraming salamat, Director Richard. Kung titingnan natin, ang ating bansa ay parang pinagpala ng napakaraming panganib. Wala na tayong magagawa doon. Minsan sobra ulan, minsan walang ulan. Kaya yung binabanggit nating cloud seeding, yun yung sagot doon sa problema ng kawalan ng tubig para sa mga pananim. No? Yun po yung ginagawa ng Pag-asa, kasama na rin ang Bureau of Soil and Water Management and ang Philippine Air Force. Pero kung titingnan natin, ang field ng disaster risk reduction, pagiging safe ng ating mga kababayan, mga ating community, mga businesses, ay napakahalaga na advokasya ng gobyerno magmula noon pa at ng DOST. Nakita ko yung paglago ng pagtulong ng Department of Science and Technology sa Pag-asa at PHIVOX. At nakita natin kung si Secboy ay 40 years na sa DOST, ako ay 37 years na.
Wow!
Nagsimula ako sa PHIVOX, no? At nakita ko kung paano umunlad ang pagbabantay ng mga bagyo sa Pag-asa, pagbabantay ng klima, pagbabantay ng mga baha, at sa PHIVOX naman, pagbabantay ng pagsabog ng bulkan, lindol at tsunami. Sa PHIVOX, ang isa sa pinaka-memorable ko siyempre na event ay nangyari noong June 15, 1991, 30 years ago to this date, na sumabog ang Mount Pinatubo ng napakalakas. Pinakamalakas na pagsabog, second to the biggest, pero yung 1,000,000 tao ang pwedeng maapektuhan. Na naging maganda ang pagbabantay at naging ligtas ang mas marami. Nakita natin na sa ngayon, yung pagbabantay ng bulkan ay pwede nating gawin, hindi lang sa harap ng bulkan, kundi remotely dito sa ating main office sa Quezon City. Meron tayong near real-time monitoring systems na pwede mong bantayan ng mga bulkan sa isang kwarto lamang. Meron na rin ang PHIVOX ng 109 earthquake monitoring stations na noong 1980s ay 10 lamang sa buong Pilipinas. At nailipat nga ito ang function ng seismology from Pag-asa to PHIVOX. Meron tayong 29 sea level monitoring stations for tsunami. Sa Pag-asa naman, Dati-rati ang pagsukat ng bulkan ay mga rain gauges, sinasalo mula sa taas sa ang ulan sa pamamagitan ng mga bucket na tinatawag nating tipping bucket rain gauges. Ngayon, meron na tayong 17 Doppler radars. May distansya na mahigit 200 kilometers. Makikita mo na yung lakas ng hangin at ulan. Meron din tayong tinatawag na flood forecasting and warning centers para sa mga baha. Meron ng 13 na nasa gawa at meron pang 5 tinatayo. So napakarami. Pero hindi lang pagbabantay ang ating ginagawa. Kailangan ng ating mga kababayan malaman kung mangyari yung bagyo, lindol o bulkan, aling mga lugar ang tatamaan, aling mga lugar ang ligtas. So importante po na makita nila aling mga hazard maps na available. Ngayon, ang hazard maps hindi lang sa website, pati na rin sa inyong mga cellphone. Hazard maps at your fingertips. 2 click lang ng inyong cellphone, kaya-kaya nyo na makita in less than 1 minute lahat ng panganib. Ito ay sa pamamagitan ng Hazard Hunter Philippines na suportado ng DOST. Pero gusto ko ring banggitin kasi ang pag-aaral at pagbabantay ng mga proseso tulad ng bagyo, bulkan, lindol, kailangan din ng mga tao and human resources. So sa sangay ng human resource development, kahit 37 years na ako sa DOST, before that, na-experience ko na kung ano ang ginagawa ng predecessor ng DOST. I think National Science and Development Board pa ito, na nung ako'y high school pa lamang sa Romblon, pinuntahan ako ng isang ininyero ng Science Promotion Institute. Siguro ito yung ama ng SEI and STII, di ba? Na ako'y hinikayat na samahan siya at magsalita sa iba't ibang high school sa probinsya ng Romblon upang mahikayat ko yung mga kapwa ko high school na magtayo ng mga science clubs at pumasok sa science, no? At ngayon, anong nakita ko in the span of many years? Ngayon ay meron na tayong 40,000 scholars na dati-rati ay mga 30,000 lamang from Philippine Science High School scholars to undergraduate, masters, and PhD. Ngayong taon, 45,000 na at posibleng next year ay 52,000. So napakahalaga yung suporta ng DOST. Sa science promotion, syempre hindi natin kakalimutan yung Science, Technology, and Information Institute na maliban sa pag-arrange nitong mga webinar o mga seminar, pinakita nyo na meron tayong technology na magagamit para maipaabot sa ating mga kababayan yung kaalaman, siyensya. Ito yung Starbucks. Science and Technology, Academic, and Research-Based, Openly Operated Course. No? At ngayon, may DOST TV na tayo. So talagang nakita ko yung pagbabago sa DOST. Kasi nga 37 years na ako na. Nung una, siguro kanya-kanya ng konti ang mga ehensya, pero nabubuo at nagiging isang team. One DOST, one team, upang magtutulungan-tulungan tayo. Bakit? Ang Advanced Science and Technology Institute, for example, pumasok sa larangan ng pagmamonitor ng environment. Di ba ang galing ng mga Pilipino? Kung dati-rati ang diwata ay nasa kagubatan lamang, ngayon ay nasa kalawakan. Di ba? At lalong-lalo na yung Maya ay lumilipad lang sa lupa. Ngayon umabot doon sa kalawakan, may Maya satellite na tayo. So, sa tingin ko, ang Pilipino ay pinagpala ng Diyos. Binigyan ng karunungan, talino, at kagalingan mag-innovate upang kahit hindi tayo ganun kaunlad, pwede tayong magbigay ng solusyon upang maging ligtas ang ating mga sarili, ang ating mga lugar, maging maalam ang mga Pilipino, at lalong-lalo na maging maunlad ang ating bansa. Yan yung nakita ko sa development ng DOST. Not only saving lives, developing the economy, saving the economy, and most importantly, developing the Filipino people.
Well, thank you very much. I think may gustong itanong si Secretary Boy sa inyo.
Hindi
Yusek Rene.
Obserbasyon lang, ewan ko kung nakikita rin ni Yusek Rene na habang gumagaling tayo sa pagpo-forecast at pagmamonitor ng mga bagyo at mga bulkan, ito namang mga bagyo at bulkan, lalong nagiging paiba-iba ang behavior.
Tama po yun.
Para tayong tinutukso. At palagay ko related yan sa sinasabing climate change.
Tama
Kaya
po
ang
yun.
ating research din ay nakaukol doon.
Opo. Kailangan po nating paghandaan ng klima. At yun nga, ang ating nakikita sa mga susunod na mga taon, kahit siguro posibleng kumonti ang mga bagyo ay lalong titindi. At dahil dumadami din ang ating populasyon, hindi lang climate change ang ating nakikita, kundi population change, development change, economic development, posibleng mga panganib hindi lumago. Ang bagyo pwedeng mas lumakas. Pero dumadami yung taong maapektuhan, dumadami yung ekonomiya na maapektuhan, komunidad na dinidevelop. So ang pinakamahalaga sa ginagawa ng DOST, makita na natin in advance. Magkaroon na tayo ng tamang imagination or disaster imagination upang ang ating pamahalaan at ang ating mga kababayan ay maplano ng mabuti kung anong gagawin. Kumbaga, sa panahon ng una, meron tayong pagbabago ng temperatura, meron tayong coping capacity. Nasasanay tayo at namumoblemang tayo pag sumobra init o sumobra ang ulan. Pero sa climate change or global warming, yung capacity natin ay kailangang palawigin pa kasi lalong iinit. So, kailangan natin magkaroon ng adaptation measure at yan po ay isa sa mga pinapagbigyan ng tuon ng pansin ng DOST, ni Secretary, na makita na natin ano yung mga measures na pwede nating maitulong sa komunidad, sa mga private sector, pagmamanage ng mga water, ng mga hazards, at kaya nga related doon sa binanggit ni 𝐘𝐿, marami na rin tayong nicer center for that, no? This year ay napakarami ang isang aspeto ng nicer center patungkol sa disaster risk reduction and climate change.
All right. So maraming salamat, Yusek Rene. Nakita ko talaga naman, lumipad na ang Maya galing sa baba. Andun na siya sa kalawakan natin. Yung ating diwata, dati-dati nasa kagubatan siya dati. Ngayon, nasa kalawakan na rin siya. And I think we're looking forward to an even bigger payload satellite. Kasi po, abangan po ninyo yon. Napaka-exciting news na yon. Dahil, ayun, ang kakayahan ng Pilipinas to participate in the global space program not only benefits us, but also benefits our human resources. Kasi eto na po, our own people manning our own projects and making science, impact lives. Kasi kita naman natin sa DRRM, ang ating mga technologies are allowing people to get to know what's coming up, whether they will be impacted. Kung may early warning system tayo, ay tiyak na maraming maliligtas sa kapahamakan. Alright? So ganun po ang kahalagahan ng science and technology sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Nakita natin na si Yusek Rene, nag-umpisa siya as a poster boy ng Science and Technology Science Promotion Institute pa. Ngayon po, Undersecretary na po siya for Science and Technological Services ng Department of Science and Technology, pati na rin po for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. Okay, so sa kabilang dako naman, nakita natin in Science for the People talaga, nasan ba ang mga people in the Philippines? They are mostly in the regions. And there must be a number of good things also we can learn from how our regional offices contribute to delivering science for the people, to the people. Yusek Sancho, this is your first public appearance. So welcome po sa DOST family as Yusek. At ano naman masasabi ninyo over your cup of coffee na nagiging contributions ng DOST sa kapakanan ng ating regions and their development?
Thank you, Director Richard. Bagamat ako ay bago lamang dito sa Central Office, gusto ko ring sabihin na I've been with DOST for more than 30 years. At masasabi ko na nagsimula ako sa pinakamababang posisyon at nakita ko at na-experience kung paano mag-transform ang Department of Science and Technology. Siguro ay yung mga nabanggit ng aking kasama ay pipick upin ko na lang dahil sa palagay ko ito yung nagmarka sa regional offices. Una po rito yung binanggit po ni Secretary Boy about set up or yung Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program. So nakita po natin over the years since we started this in 2002 na napakalaki po ng naitulong nito sa ating mga micro, small, and medium enterprises. Sa katunayan po, to date, ay nakapag-extend na po tayo ng SMT assistance to over 90,000 MSMEs. And we have created job opportunities for more than 290,000 employees. Ano po. Mahalaga po ito dahil gaya nga po ng inyong nabanggit, ito po ay nagke-create ng wealth sa mga kanayunan. Ano? So, hindi lamang po matatagpuan siguro yung development in progressive cities and towns, but it may equity at pinapakita po nung setup na merong pockets of improvement in these areas. Pangalawa po dito yung ating high impact technology solutions o yung HITS. At babanggitin ko siguro yung particularly sa pag-establish natin ng food innovation centers. Ano? Ito po ngayon ay present na sa 16 na rehiyon. At nung una po ay ang layunin nito ay mag-create ng mga innovative products in the regions. And sometimes ito rin po ay ginagamit natin sa ating mga short-run productions. But lately, nakita po natin na nagko-commercialize na rin po sila ng technologies. At napakahalaga po nito dahil yung mga private enterprises are now coming in dito sa mga FICs and they are now asking for ano ba yung bago na pwedeng i-adapt ng isang, for example, isang private firms o yung nasa sektor na pribado. So napaka-importante rin po nito at ngayon po ay ini-enhance pa natin yung hindi lang yung operations but yung mga services ng ating FIC. Banggitin ko rin po dito yung sinimulan natin, I think in 2017 or 18, yung Smarter City programs natin. Ano? Ito po yung pag-create ng smarter cities in key areas of the country. Sa ngayon po ay nauna dito yung Kawayan City ng Isabela. Ipinasok din po natin dito yung sa Iloilo and then sa Caraga. Maganda po ito dahil may framework po ito na tumitingin at tinitignan yung S&T impact in several areas. Like for example, yung smarter mobility, smarter education, smarter health, even smarter agriculture, and other areas pa. Ano? So, importante po ito dahil nagkaroon po tayo ng tinatawag na pagtanggap ng mga LGUs na nabanggit ko doon sa mga technologies na available po sa Department of Science and Technology. At sa katunayan, ay nagkaroon na rin tayo ng Smarter City Belt. So ito pong Smarter City Belt naman ay ini-ensure nito na magkaroon po ng seamless na transfer of technologies, best practices that are being used in the smart cities. At Director Richard, panghuli na lang siguro, yung aking isa sa paborito nga na sinasabi nating programa, yung ating Starbucks o yung ating library in a box. Napakahalaga po nito, especially in the region where I came from. Ito ay sa Region 2 dahil nakita ko po yung online and offline nito. Ngayon po ay maraming gumagamit ng online. But in other areas na wala pong internet, nagagamit din po itong offline. At nakita po natin kung paano ma-access yung science, technology, innovation, information through Starbucks. So yun lang po siguro ang masasabi ko.
Ang dami palang nagagawa ng science and technology sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Ano po? At pinapatunayan ito ng ating mga regional offices kasi sila naman talaga ang nagiging mukha at boses ng Department of Science and Technology sa kanayunan. Alright? So nakakatuwang isipin na since 2002, yung ating setup ay nandyan na. Okay? Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program na siya namang, para ba siya yung link, siya yung bridge between our small entrepreneurs and a pool of developments from R&D. Okay, so 90,000 SMEs ang natulungan natin at mahigit 290,000 jobs have been created. So malaking bagay po ito, no? Yung ating mga food innovation centers have become magnets for commercialization also of technologies and engaging the private sector. Ngayon, ang private sector na lumalapit sa atin. Ano pa ba ang pwede nilang gamitin na technologies coming from the Department of Science and Technology? Nakakatuwa yung ating Smarter Cities program, no? Inumpisahan niya ng Cagayan, Iloilo, and Caraga to showcase that really inputs from science and technology can help our cities become more livable, okay? And life among its citizenry can also become easier, no? Nabanggit ninyo yung smarter belt. Ano ba yung Tagalog ng belt? Parang sinturon? Sinturon, oo nga. So sila yung daanan, daluyan ng ating development in these areas. Pero yung sinturon, para sa mga matigas ang ulo, ay gamitin din natin siguro ito. Ano ha? Ang Starbucks. This year, Starbucks, our Science and Technology Library in a Box celebrates 10 years. 10 years na po siya. It's present in more than 5,200 sites across the Philippines. Paano nyo malalaman kung saan itong sites na ito? Ay pwede kayong gumamit ng Starbucks GeoMap application, no, sa inyong mobile phone. So ang daming kagamitan nito. Starbucks really represents also the face and content of DOST to our public. So nakakatuwa rin. Celebrate natin ito sa araw na ito, 63rd anniversary ng DOST. Ngayon naman, I think I'd like to invite you to participate in a special offer from Equilibrium. Go to www.equilibrium.com.ph and you can wait for an approval of your respective emails. And once approved, you may already shop at the Equilibrium website at gamit ng passcode na DOST CAPE. Redeem a 10% discount voucher on your purchases. So, ayan po. Dito naman po tayo ngayon. Let's move forward and let's talk about the latest accomplishments of the last 3 years. But before we do that, let's pause and take a look at this video which was shown in 2018 as we celebrated 60 years of DOST. Pakinggan ninyo at masdan ninyo mabuti itong video na ito.
DOST has been moving to build dreams and create significant change through science and technology.
As they faced the gigantic task of rehabilitation, the Filipinos had ample need of the stoicism and courage they had shown under occupation.
In the post-war era of the 1950s, the Philippines was turning a new leaf to rebuild and re-energize itself from the ravages of war. The National Science Board aided in the development of new careers through the board-initiated scholarship program. Science and technology became the tools to invigorate the nation. Republic Act 2067 created the National Science Development Board, or NSDB, and Mr. Paulino Garcia was its first chairman. A new source of energy was developed through construction of the nuclear reactor building in Quezon City.
Near Asia, in the warm waters,
People had reasons to move forward with new prospects in careers and technological discoveries. In the 1960s, the country had more firm footing and was ready to break new grounds. Under NSDB Chairman Dr. Juan Salcedo Jr., education and energy continued to be major concerns of the board. Budding scientists found a home to nurture their bright minds at the Philippine Science High School, popularly called PSHS. The Philippines discovered another source of energy thanks to the study by Professor Arturo Alcaraz on the Tiwi geothermal area for power utilizations. Professor Alcaraz's work was truly trailblazing It got the Philippines on the path to becoming the world's second-largest producer of geothermal energy. Nationalism and food security were the bywords in the 1970s. With Dr. Florencio Medina and later Dr. Melencio Magno at the helm, the National Science Development Board steered initiatives that advance agriculture, forestry, and energy. Major strides were made in the industries of cut flour, makapuno, nata de coco, and swine production. Yet the biggest local agricultural innovation that marked the 70s was the discovery of high-yielding rice. The Philippine Atomic Energy Commission produced 2 strains of rice derived continued to assist the marginalized sectors of society. Undernourished kids found better nutrition through the development of fortified foods. Small and medium entrepreneurs enhanced their products with better packaging and longer shelf life. Medical challenges, previously thought to be at the dead end, found hope. The shunt was used to treat children with hydrocephalus. Overall, Filipinos had better access to information through infotech developments such as eHealth and PHNet. As the new millennium unfolded, DOST kept up with the changing times through the leadership of Dr. Filemon Uriarte, who was succeeded by a lady who has come to be known as the first woman DOST Secretary, Dr. Estrella F. Alabastro. The period was marked by the opening avenues of collaboration between the private sector and the academe, as well as the development of small businesses in the countryside. DOST led the way to greater connectivity and information sharing among government agencies through the Pregenet Broadband Network and SciNet centers. Moving to the current decade, DOST, under the leadership of Dr. Mario G. Montejo and currently under Fortunato T. de la Peña, continues to blaze trails through cutting-edge technologies in disaster mitigation, mass transport system, genomics, and many more. In the local and international arenas, DOST's efforts are gaining the much-deserved recognition.
Mula noong itatag ang department noong 1987 hanggang ngayon, humigit kumulang mga 21 taon, ay napakarami na rin naging mga pagbabago. Unang-una, ang paglaki ng budget na iniukol ng gobyerno para sa science and technology activities. Pangalawa, ang pagdami ng mga institusyon na nag-a-avail ng ating research and development grants. Ang pangatlo ay yung pagdami ng mga kumpanya o mga enterprises na natutulungan through science and technology interventions. Pang-apat ay yung pagdami ng mga scholars na ating hinuhubog para maging eksperto sa iba't ibang linya ng agham at teknolohiya. At itong pinakahuli nating mga undertaking sa research ay isinama na natin ang mga pananaliksik na may kinalaman sa disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. Sa ngayon, ang Pilipinas ay masasabi nating nakahanay na sa mga ASEAN countries na malaki na ang iniangat pagdating sa siyensya at teknolohiya.
Yet the premier science agency continues to leverage on science, technology, and innovation to make people's lives better, healthier, more prosperous.
Ngayon, ang masasabi ko ay may mga pangarap ako para sa agham at teknolohiya sa ating bansang Pilipinas. Una sa lahat, mayroon tayong mga sektor na makakaangat ng mas mataas at inaakala ko na ito'y mangyayari sa darating na 10 taon. Mas tataas ang ating status bilang isang bansa na nagsasagawa ng mga pananaliksik at nagkakaroon ng mga maraming mga resulta sa pananaliksik o research and development. Ang nakikita ko na mangyayari o ang aking pinapangarap sa susunod na 10 taon ay talagang mapataas ang antas ng productivity ng ating agricultural production sector through research and development. Gusto ko ding makita na ang income ng ating mga farmers at yung iba pang nasa sektor ng agrikultura ay tumaas sa pamamagitan ng makabagong teknolohiya. At gusto ko din na ang kontribusyon ng agrikultura through technology sa ating economy ay mapataas. Doon sa ibang sektor katulad ng health or in the medical field, aking inaasam ay magpatuloy ang ating pag-angat sa sektor ng pagtuklas ng mga gamot at iba pang mga ingredients na pwedeng magamit na gamot. And of course, ang aking pangarap ay makita ng ating mga industriya ay mapataas ang mga income through higher value added na magagawa through research and development. Kaya patuloy nating suportahan ang agham at teknolohiya. Ating ipagdiwang ang ika-60 taong paglalakbay ng science and technology sa Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang science and technology sa ating bansa. Mabuhay ang Department of Science and Technology sa ika-60 taon ng ating organisasyon. Salamat po.
All right, so we are back to this coffee chat with Sec Boy as we celebrate DOST 63rd anniversary. Nakita niyo naman mga kaibigan, in front of the panel of guests here are a number of food products, and this is courtesy of our beneficiaries. Gusto kong pasalamatan ang Equilibrium Intertrade Corporation, ang Food and Nutrition Research Institute, ang DOST CALABARZON, MIMAROPA, NCR, and Region 3. Nagpapasalamat din tayo sa ating communications partner, ang DOOH and Cafe Lupe, for donating some coffee beans over here. But yung Nutriban natin, napakasarap pala kayo. kung mainit ang kape, kailangan lang mainit ang kape. O kahit siguro hindi mainit ang kape. Masarap pa rin ang Nutriban produkto. Inuubos na ng sekretary yung Nutriban. Ano kayang ginawa dyan ni Director Agdepa at bakit nasarap pa si sekretary? Anyway, ang daming products niyan at nanggaling yan sa ating mga DOST-assisted enterprises kagaya ng E&B Farms, Rejanos Bakery, Three Sisters, Baghari Global Food Incorporated, Harito Food Products, Granda Sweets and Delicacies, Apong Ota Brownies and Delicacies, Edna and Rebecca's Banana Chips and Coated Peanuts. Mrs. Owl Coffee Roasters, La Noceda Food Products Incorporated, PHP Noodle House, Paula Sweets Food Products, Arite Food Corporation, and CJA Premium Finds Corporation. Ayan po, ilan lang po yan sa mga natulungan ng ating DOST programs kagaya ng setup na ngayon naman, nakikita nyo naman yung mga produkto nila umangat na in terms of quality, market reach, and profitability. Nakakatuwa pong makasama natin sila sa umagang ito. Shout out din pala sa mga former NSDB and DOST officials who are still around. Okay. Shout out to Hilda De Jesus na dating sa Calabarzon ba natin siya? And they're still around. Si Dr. Nuna Almanzor. Hello, Nuna. Dr. Nuna. Ang walang kamatayang engineer, Lydia Tansinsin. Alright? Ang kulit-kulit. Ang kinukulit pa rin. Nanghihingi pa rin siya ng reference materials from our library. Nakakatuwa na she is still making use of information resources at DOST. Hi, Ma'am Lydia. Good morning. Sana nag-enjoy kayo ng coffee ninyo sa araw na ito. Si Dr. Pasita Sara, dating the Executive Director ng PCARRD. Hi, Ma'am. Kaya lang hindi siya lumalabas ngayon. All right. Si Mrs. Patrocinio De Guzman ng FNRI. Hello, Ma'am, wherever you are. I hope you're enjoying your coffee as well as we celebrate 63 years. 92 years old na pala si Marcela Katibog. All right, 92. Imagine that. Okay, ilang years kaya ito yung nag-serve sa DOST? I'm sure they have their own share of good memories to reminisce as we celebrate 63 years of DOST accomplishments. So magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. All right, so moving forward, usapan naman natin yung mga latest accomplishments from the last 3 years and how DOST plans to sustain these achievements. Would like to give probably highlights on our COVID response initiatives. Okay, so let's call again on Secretary Boy to share with us ano ang nakikita niya nagawa natin, especially in response to the COVID threat. Sec Boy.
Well, ihayag na natin ito ng maraming beses. Unang-una, itong mga sinuportahan nating researches na kahit na hindi naman natin alam na darating yung COVID, ay nakahanda tayo kamukha ng ating diagnostic kits program. Kaya nung dumating ang COVID, nung lumabas na yung genome sequence, ay ang daling naka-ship ng ating researchers sa diagnostic kit para magawa yung ating sariling PCR diagnostic kit sa ilalim ng pangunguna ni Dr. Destura. Tapos yung ating disease modeling, naka-ano na rin yan, naka-in place na rin kasi nagmo-model tayo ng dengue, ng typhoid fever, ng measles. And so nung dumating yung COVID-19, yung grupo naman nila Rowena Cristina, ang nag-ship sila sa pagmo-model ng COVID-19. Kaya lumabas yung FASTER model, FASSSTER, na inadapt ng IATF as the disease model. And of course, our continuing work on drug development, may mga approved na tayong medicines and health supplements na ginagamit para sa ibang sakit ay tinrials natin para naman masubukan ang epekto sa COVID-19, lalo na kung mayroong mga antiviral properties. Kaya inaral natin ang BCO, yung aking favorite na BCO. Inaaral natin yung Lagundi ngayon at malapit na matapos yung pag-aaral nila. Inaaral din yung tawa-tawa. And then of course, tumugon tayo sa mga pangangailangan, lalo na yung mga inirekomenda ng ating DOH na aralin na mga iba pang gamot. At yung ating participation sa mga solidarity trials ng WHO, whether it is in the area of medicine or in the area of vaccine. And we had a very big role in the sense na yung vaccine evaluation and selection ay nakaatas sa isang task group na ang namumuno ay ang DOST. Si Yusek Rowena Guevara nga ang in charge noon. Although maraming ibang ahensyang involved, pero ang chair ay ang Department of Science and Technology, pamamahala sa mga clinical trials, at pag-evaluate ng iba't ibang bakuna. At of course, hindi ating mga ginawa na may kinalaman sa biomedical devices, katulad ng ating RX box, na originally intended yan sa mga rural areas para yung mga diagnostic doon ay ma-interpret better ng mga nasa mga tertiary hospitals, yung mga magagaling na mga espesyalista by means of ICT ay nagkakaroon sila ng communication at pag-transmit ng mga resulta ng mga examination using this RX box. Ngayon ay nag-ship ng gamit, no? Ginagamit muna sa mga ospital nang sa ganon nakakabit sa mga pasyente na i-monitor ang kanilang mga vital signs. And na-transmit na yon sa isang by means of computer sa nurses station. So hindi na kailangan lapitan metmia ng mga health workers. At ngayon nga ay tinatapos natin yung ating gagawin na yung ating clinical evaluation para sa ating mga ventilators. Yun yung tungkol sa COVID-19.
Wow, ang dami rin palang ginagawa ng DOST in response to the COVID-19 threat, from diagnostic kits to disease modeling to drug development, yung ating FASTER system, yung ating trials using VCO, Lagundi, and Tawa-Tawa, and our cooperative solidarity trials with the World Health Organization. Meron din tayong mga biomedical devices that are already available, like the RX box, no? Ng practice ng telemedicine, na kahit wala ka sa hospital, pwede ma-monitor yung mga signs mo, vital signs mo, ng mga professionals, healthcare givers. All right, so, ang dami pala. Meron bang mga quick responses lang? What are we doing in response to the COVID-19 threat from the area of DRRM and STS? All right, so magandang app yan. You can download that from the internet. You go to spas.ph. All right, so ito isang application that has been vetted by the DILG and the Philippine National Police, so that for Filipino travelers who move from one province to another, all right, so maybe they can check out first what is the set of requirements for every locality that they want to visit. Para hassle-free na po yung travel nila, no? Yung travel authorizations and permits, makukuha na po nila doon. Kung merong requirements yung locality, malalaman din po nila doon sa SPAS app. Now, tingnan naman natin from the regional operations perspective, meron ba tayong mga specific responses to the COVID threat?
May mga ilan akong sasabihin, Director Richard. Una po dito yung ating e-commerce platform, yung onestore.ph, na because medyo mahirap po ang mobility ngayon at ang face-to-face transactions. And ito pong onestore.ph nating e-commerce platform ay nagbigay po ng opportunity sa ating mga MSMEs na magbenta ng kanilang produkto kahit na po may pandemic. Sa katunayan nga po ay nakakita tayo ng increase in the number of transactions nitong pandemic, an increase of about 15 to 20% in the number of transactions. Nakakita rin po tayo ng increase in the number of products na na-enroll po natin. At sa ngayon nga po, nagkaroon na tayo ng mga 14,000 plus products na maaring mabili sa one store. And aside from that, trinabaho po natin yung opportunities that the products can be marketed abroad or internationally. So nakipag-ugnayan po tayo sa isang consolidator, yung One Export Consolidator. At tinitignan po natin ngayon yung capability ng mga MSMEs under the one store to export their products. Very quick lang po, Director Richard, banggitin ko lang po yung dalawang ginagawa po ng Isabela State University ngayon. Katulong po dito ang DOST Region 2, yung kanilang contact tracing app na Health Guard, we call it Health Guard. At ito po ngayon ay ginagamit na sa iba't ibang bayan ng Region 2. At huli na lang po yung kanilang telemedicine dahil marami po ang no-hospital at yung mga hindi po kayang tanggapin ng mga lokal na hospital in the region ay dito po sila kumbaga ay humihingi ng mga opinion from our doctor. So dalawang proyekto po ang ating ginagawa ngayon. Salamat.
Wow, so kahit na pala pandemic, ang circumstance natin ngayon, marami pa rin paraan na dulot sa atin ng Department of Science and Technology. Nakakatuwa na kahit na naka-lockdown tayo, karamihan, most of the time, nasa bahay tayo, you can still buy the DOST-assisted products through onestore.ph. Isa po yung portal, isa an e-commerce portal. In fact, nagamit ko yan. One Christmas yata, model ako ng mga Christmas giveaways ko through One Store. Nakakatuwa po yan. Gawa ng Pinoy para sa ating mga kaibigang Pinoy, di ba? At nakakatulong din tayo sa local small and medium enterprises. Okay. At saka hindi lang yan, yung ating One Lab services, yung ating One Export services, available din po yan na kahit na may pandemic ay patuloy ang ating serbisyo sa publiko. No? So, 15 to 20% increase in transactions online on One Store. Nakakatuwang pakinggan yan. 14,000 products. All right. Ang dami-dami natin natutulungan dyan. Tangkilikin ang sariling atin. And new opportunities to help our patients through Health Guard and telemedicine. Ayan po. Dulot ng Department of Science and Technology. Nakakatuwang pakinggan as we celebrate 63 years of DOST. Ngayon naman, balik tayo sa ating kape. Meron pa ba kayong mga kape dyan? Okay, so typically we drink coffee whenever we are busy or sometimes even when we want to relax. Okay? So, yung kape ninyo, kasama nyo pa ba? Tuloy tayo sa ating kapihan. When do you best drink your coffee? You can type it down in the chat box. Okay? Or comment in the comment section of your Facebook page. You are looking at it. Okay, so kung kailan kayo nagkakape, you can describe that in the chat boxes. Typically, we drink coffee whenever we are busy or sometimes even when we want to relax. But regardless, why we drink coffee is your coffee is in its best form to satiate your coffee cravings. Okay, so paano nga ba natin mai-enjoy yung ating cup of coffee? Now, let's introduce or get to meet our guest this morning. He is an IT guy. He's an electrical engineer, but he is currently in the coffee business. Let's get to meet the president of Equilibrium Intertrade Corporation. It is one of the leading distributors of coffee and cafe beverage products and equipment in the Philippines. Founded in 1998, it has grown from a one-product company to a full suite of beverage portfolio, serving mainly the hotel, restaurant, and cafe sector. Now, one of its recent ventures is coffee roasting and farming under its coffee brand, 𝐃𝐿 Collaborators. Okay? And EQ has branches in 8 key cities in the country from North Luzon to the south and Mindanao, and proudly serves more than 1,000 customers nationwide. It also runs a coffee school, the Barista and Coffee Academy of Asia, located in Muntinlupa, and operates 3 coffee shops in NCR and 1 in Baguio. Now, let's get to meet Engineer Eric Cruz. Hello, Eric. Kumusta ka dyan? And how are you enjoying your coffee?
Hi, Richard. Good morning. And yes, I'm enjoying my coffee very much. Sarap ang kape dito.
Oo nga, thanks to your baristas and your coffee cart, okay, at your back. Nakakatuwang makita na it's really part of this setup, no ha? It made the set come alive and smell alive because the smell of freshly brewing coffee is all around us right now. Okay, so Eric, after almost 30 years in the corporate world, and I worked with you in IBM Philippines, you took early retirement in 2012 when you joined your wife and the founder of 𝐂𝐿 𝐂𝐴𝐿 in your family business. Okay,
That's right.
so electrical engineering from the University of the Philippines, and now you are in business, and you're also engaged in coffee farming, setting up roasting facilities, and promoting local coffees in the industry while helping to run the family business. Now tell us, how has DOST benefited you?
Oh, a lot, a lot. Just this morning, no, yung tanong kanina na saan masarap magkape. Ang standard answer ko dyan is sa bahay, no, at the start of the morning. Ngayon, iba na ang pananaw ko. Masarap magkape sa DOST. Kasi ang dami mo natututunan. No? It's so nice to have coffee around scientists and technologists. I just found out. So, yes, actually, kami po ay beneficiary ng DOST set up through transfer of technology. You know, we were able to acquire through a loan coffee sorting facility or equipment. Actually, dati-rate ang aming pag-sort ng kape, mano-mano, manual. We have 5, 6 ladies. And by the way, ladies, not men. Mas magaling ang mga babae pag ganyang klaseng mga meticulous tasks. Ngayon, we use color sorter, automatic. So with that technology, we're able to do it faster and more efficiently. Okay. And in the farms, a couple of years back, nakakita ako ng isang prototype equipment ng PCARRD sa DOST exhibit sa World Trade Center.
All right.
Na equipment to be used for post-harvest facility, post-harvest processing. So yung mga ganon, nakakatulong yan sa coffee industry.
Ang galing, ano ha? So I'd like to invite our other panelists here to shoot some questions to Eric first. Okay, so while he is here with us, I think there's valuable information and insights coming from the industry. Check Boy, would you like to shoot the first question?
Yeah, in what better ways can we serve the coffee industry in the Philippines? I mean, the Department of Science and Technology. I can think, for example, that we can take some initiative in preserving the genetic material of coffee that we have, and maybe what else can we do from the point of view of science?
Correct. For one, nabanggit kanina, or I think before the show, ni 𝐘𝐿 na PCARRD is doing a lot of research and development work on the varieties and species of coffee that are conducive to various locations in the country. Alam naman natin sa Pilipinas, very varied ang climate, ang soil, iba-iba. No? May mataas, may mababa, may mainit, may mas malamig. So there are different varieties and species that will thrive in different environment. So yung ganung research will help. The other one is, I heard earlier also that si Secretary Boy is the father of technology transfer. Kailangan natin yan kasi sa mga post-harvest processing ng kape using equipment like the pulpers, the hullers, ang napansin namin sa industriya, ang ating mga equipment na gawa sa bansa, parang sa paningin ko, rice-centric kasi we're more rice agriculture country. So ang equipment, ang disenyo niya, gawa or galing sa siguro natutunan at teknolohiya ng bigas rather than coffee. But coffee processing is very different from rice processing. So ang lumalabas, yung mga locally made or manufactured equipment, medyo hindi maganda ang lumalabas na quality. We have to import ourselves some equipment from other countries like Colombia, Brazil, which are some of the large coffee producing. They have the best technology, best equipment, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. No? We can take these technologies, transfer here, learn from it, and develop our own from this. So yun yung mga areas where it can help. Of course, in terms of disaster, maganda yung mga mapping ng bansa natin para alam ng mga farmers saan ka maganda magtanim at saan ka hindi na dapat magtanim dahil binabaha yan, binabagyo yan parate.
All right.
No? So maganda rin yung mga ganun na inputs to the coffee farming industry. And not just coffee farming, of course, also in the other agricultural areas. But ang kape kasi, we are now net importer of rice. Dati tayo ay exporter. Similar to coffee, we used to be in the 60s, 70s exporter of coffee. Today we are a net importer. In fact, we import about 72% of our green coffee bean requirement.
Wow, that's a lot.
Correct. Out of the 132,000 metric tons of green coffee bean requirement, we only produce about 38 metric tons. So we're a net, and I'm just talking about the manufacturing statistics. No, yung GCB kasi is an input to the roasting process.
All right.
But in terms of consumption, coffee in a research in a survey done in 2018, published by I think it's Statista, or yeah. Coffee, of all those surveyed, more than 70% of the people surveyed, consumer, drink coffee daily. Drink coffee. Nung panahon na natin siguro, mga bata tayo, soft drinks, soda. Ngayon, kape na. Number 2 is juice. So, iba na ang preference. No? So, if you can imagine, 70% of those surveyed, let's say 50% of adult population ang uminom ng kape. Now, that's about 42 million cups a day ang nakukonsume. That's a lot of coffee cups. And that's a lot of opportunity for the industry and the farmers if we are able to do farming and processing properly.
All right, so you mentioned that yung rice farming and coffee farming are two different things. Okay, and their practices are obviously very different. But there's one person who mixes coffee and rice, and that's Yusek Rene. Sinasawsaw yata niya yung rice niya sa kape. So meron ba kayong question for Engineer Eric Cruz?
Meron. How can we ensure the quality of a coffee product?
Napakagandang tanong. Ang quality ng kape ay hindi nagtatapos sa coffee cup or coffee mug. Ang simula niyan sa butil ng, believe it or not, from the seed, the germination process, the transfer to the field, the farming itself, the processing. So, napakaraming factors, no? Kailangan maganda ang pag-aalaga, maganda ang pagdilig, pag-fertilize, paglagay ng shade tree. Ang isip natin sa kape or sa halaman, kailangan maaraw. Ang kape hindi, kailangan may shading. Okay? Tama ang elevation. If it's Arabica, you have to grow it at about 1,200 meters above sea level. Ang Robusta, hindi. Barako, pwede sa... And then yung pag-harvest mo, kailangan cherry pick, meaning yung tamang hinog lang. Tapos, ihuhugasan mo, papatuyuin mo ng maayos, hindi magkakaroon ng molds, tama ang moisture content, i-depulp mo and dedihal mo na walang damage sa beans, kaya nga yung equipment are very important. And then before you roast, you need to have the correct moisture content, about 11%. And then you roast properly. At hindi natatapos doon, na-roast mo properly yung grind, dapat tama sa pag-prepare mo ng kape, whether it's fine grind for espresso, medium grind, or coarse grind for brewing. And then the water quality is important. Hindi dapat distilled, dapat may konting hardness. Right temperature, you brew it at about 92 degrees centigrade. Kung espresso yan, about 9 bars of pressure, and so on and so forth. So, kumbaga, yung pinaghirapan ng farmer all those years to grow the coffee, isang pagkakamali ng barista na nandito, you will have a bad cup. So, kailangan bantayan lahat yon. So, sa pagtatanim, sa pag-aalaga ng coffee plant, pag-harvest, pag-process, pag-roast, pag-grind, at pag-extract. So, ano talaga.
Matrabaho pala ang
At
gumawa ng
maalaga.
isang cup of coffee, maalaga, kailangan nating sundin ang tamang proseso. From the regional operations perspective, Yusek Sancho, meron ba kayong gustong itanong kay Engineer Eric?
Sir Eric, meron kasi tayong mga projects in the regions na nagpo-produce ng bean, coffee bean. Now my question is, do you still need suppliers of coffee beans?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay.
Opo. Kasi nga, kulang ang supply ng coffee beans, ng green coffee bean or GCB. Even us, there are times that we have to import some GCB from other countries kasi hindi lang naman kasi quantity or volume. Hirap tayo both in quantity and quality of coffee. So, but there is a need. Malaki po ang pangailangan ng industriya.
All right. So thank you very much, Eric. And thank you for enlightening us about the entire complicated process of preparing a good cup of coffee. Now, if we were in a coffee shop, what kinds of coffee preparations can we order? And how different are they from each other? Kung minsan kasi hindi mo alam kung alin ang mas masarap na coffee preparation.
Yes. I think we have some materials for that. I think we can start with the base beverage for any coffee. I don't know if the charts can be shown, but you can start espresso. Espresso is the base of all coffee beverage. Ano ba yung espresso? Espresso is a beverage that was invented by the Italians. Espresso, mabilis na kape. It is made from 7 to 8 grams of ground coffee, extracted with a temperature of 90 to 92 degrees centigrade with pressure. Yan ang importante sa espresso. Kailangan may kasamang pressure. 9 bars of pressure, extracted for about 25-30 seconds to get about 25 to 30 cc of beverage or espresso. So very precise. May science doon sa espresso. It's not just any extraction. And then from there, you can make your cafe Americano. Americano is brewed coffee. It's an espresso shot, then with hot water, distilled with hot water. So that's the Americano or distilled. Then if you add milk, that's where you get cappuccino or latte. Cappuccino is about 6-ounce drink, 1/3 espresso, 1/3 steamed milk, 1/3 froth milk. Latte is mas malaki siya, mga 8-ounce espresso, steamed milk, and milk foam. And so on and so forth. No, you start with your espresso. Merong cafe mocha. Cafe mocha is latte with chocolate sauce. Okay. Then merong caramel macchiato. No, caramel macchiato is with a drizzling of its espresso, milk, foam of milk, and a drizzling of caramel sauce.
Ang
So,
dami palang preparation
Meron lang ako.
ng coffee. Yes, boy.
Nung araw, ang kape namin yung barako na pinapakuluan tapos sinasala sa medyas. Oo. Yung bang barako description lang ng isang kape o variety talaga yun?
Yes. Barako is a variety. We fondly call it barako, but it's really Liberica variety. Ang kape, merong iba't ibang variety. Ang pinakamaraming pinuproduce around the world is Arabica. That's about 60% of 60 to 70% of the coffee produced around the world, Arabica. Then Robusta, about 25%, and then the rest 5% would be or less Liberica, and there's another one, 𝐾𝐿SA. Ang Pilipinas, fortunate enough to be producing all of the major varieties. We have Arabica sa mga highlands like Bukidnon, Benguet, Davao. We have Robusta sa Cavite, Batangas, Liberica or Barako also in Batangas, Cavite area. And we also have the 𝐾𝐿SA. So lahat ng apat meron. Pag niluto mo yon sa medyas, tawag doon specialty coffee. So ibang flavor.
Meron pang isang klaseng kape na hindi nyo nabanggit yata, and it's picked by the wisest speakers of coffee beans. At sila po ay mga musang. Di ba? So civet coffee.
Civet coffee.
Civet. I mean, tell us about it, and is it something that you would like to promote, raising animals to pick up coffee beans and excreting them
Yes,
so that
yes.
they will taste better?
Parating tinatanong yan, yung civet coffee or musang. It's very expensive, and the reason being the novelty of it. Ang ano niyan, yung mountain cat or yung wild civet cat sa coffee farm or sa coffee area, pinipik niya yung tamang hinog ng kape, yun ang kinakain niya. So sa unang proseso pa lang, yung cherry picking, uniform ripeness, the right ripeness, ang kinakain niya. Then there's some processing sa kanyang stomach with the enzymes that cause fermentation, which is also done during coffee processing sa mga coffee processing center fermentation. Bago niya ilabas. No? So yung poop, pipick upin niya ng farmers, hopefully hugasang mabuti, tapos yun yung ipaprocess na kape. So from that standpoint, it's picked, it's uniform ripeness, there is fermentation that happens. No? So you expect better quality. Okay?
Alright.
Having said that, there was this coffee forum, scientific forum I was able to attend in Portland about 3 years ago. One scientist from De La Salle University, academician, presented a study, a research he did in UC Davis in California for civet coffee. Long story short, pinag-aralan ng composition, may mga markers, thousands of markers in a coffee beans, dalawa lang yung distinct sa civet coffee. So ang conclusion is, from a chemical standpoint, from a scientific composition standpoint, it's not much different. But the way it's processed, so hindi chemical composition, but the way it's processed and all that, makes it, and the novelty of it, makes it a sought-after type of coffee.
Mhm.
Again, having said that, matatalino yung mga ibang mga business people, what they do in some areas, in some countries certainly, captured yung civet cat cage, and then they're force-fed with coffee, whether hinog yan or hilaw yan, so nawawala na yung
Alright.
uniformity, ripeness, and of course, it's cruelty to animals. Diba? So, dapat malaman din natin yung aspeto na yun about civet coffee.
Okay, so civet coffee, very pricey. If you can afford it, go for it. Otherwise, be
But
kind
check the
to
source.
animals.
But check the source. Oh yeah, check the source. It should be wild civet coffee,
Wild
not
civet
cage,
coffee.
not
Wild civet coffee if you want to go wild. Ganun ba yun? All right. We have more questions, and this time coming from a blogger, si Donna Raquisa from Ganda Negosyo. Sabi niya, paano po kaya maiiwasan ang uric acid kahit umiinom ka ng kape araw-araw? All right, isa pang katanungan niya, maganda po bang gamitin ang honey sa kape kapalit ng sugar? All right, ano po sa palagay niyo na masarap na brewed coffee sa Pilipinas matatagpuan?
Ang daming tanong. Ang first, I'm not sure if it's uric acid that she meant, no, but it's probably acidity. It's a usual question in terms of coffee. Acidity, ang coffee has its inherent acidity. When in the coffee world, acidity is a positive thing sa kape. It's not a negative connotation. When you say acidic sa kape, parang fresh calamansi or lemon that we add to our food, to our pancit, or it adds brightness and freshness to the food. Yan yung acidity ng kape. Now, iba yung sourness, yung maasim. No, yung maasim na lasa ay nangyayari dahil sa maraming bagay. First, probably the storage of coffee is not airtight. So ang kalaban ng kape, storage, is oxidation, exposure to air. So umaasim siya pag na-expose siya sa environment, sa air. No? Second is under extraction. Sa kape, dahil may inherent acidity siya, all coffee beans would have inherent acid, sugar, and oil. Ang unang na-extract sa coffee beans when you do your extraction is the acid. And then comes the sweetness and the flavors coming from the oil. Kapag under-extracted, ang na-extract mo pa lang, yung acid, hindi mo man na fully extract yung sweetness and yung aromas and flavors. Ang lasa ng kape mo, maasim. Acidic lang. So kulang ang iyong extraction time or mababa ang iyong temperature, extraction temperature. So maaaring yun ang nangyayari kaya maasim. But coffee in itself will have its inherent acids or acidity. Okay.
All right, so thank you.
Yung honey, of course, honey is good for anything, no? Kung gusto mo
Yes.
yun. And the last question, I can't remember. Saan mahanap?
Matatagpuan ang pinaka-best na coffee.
Matatagpuan yon sa panlasa mo. Kung anong masarap sa iyo, yun ang best coffee.
It's closer than you think. Okay,
it
that's
shouldn't be
good.
that complicated.
Okay, so yung panlasa mo will determine what is the best coffee in the Philippines, no? And it can be closer than you think it is. All right, so thank you very much, Engineer Eric Cruz from Equilibrium. And nakita nyo naman, ang sarap ng ating talakayan kung kasama natin ang kape. So kasama natin sa araw na ito, ilang mga panauhin who are also from the coffee industry, kagaya ng ni Mr. David Santos. He's the chairperson of Katribo ug ang Lasang Foundation. Mario Anicete is a farmer from Nueva Vizcaya. Michelle De Sagun, manager of Casile Ginting Upland Marketing Cooperative. Marami pa po ito. Nakakatuwa pakinggan na makita natin na hindi lang pala taga-DOST nagse-celebrate ng 63rd anniversary ng DOST. Ang dami palang farmers and farmer cooperative leaders who are participating here, no? And sana ma-realize nila that DOST is really trying to reach out to the coffee industry. Not only because we are reminded about coffee every time we take a cup, steaming hot cup of coffee in the morning, but because there are so many farmers who are dependent on improving their processes and their products and their profitability using science and technology. Ngayon pa man, gusto kong ibalita before we end that dahil siguro sa power ng kape, all right, 12 of our offices at the DOST have been awarded, okay, or conferred with the Prime HRM Bronze Award. So 12 po yan out of 36 or so agencies of DOST. Kasama na ang DOST Regional Office 1, MIMAROPA, Region 4A, Region 8, Region 9, Region 11. Andyan din ang FIVOX, FPRDI, Pag-asa, PCARRD, STII, and the Central Office. Sa kasalukuyan, right now, they are deliberating on the Bronze Award for this DOST Central Office. So nakakatuwang pakinggan that, we are leveling up in our HRM programs, okay? And we are following documented processes and elevating the standards of our HR management program. Okay, so congratulations to all these agencies who are now bronze awardees. Secretary, I think mayroon kang sasabihin tungkol doon sa COA ba yun?
Hindi, yung mga nanalo.
Nanalo na?
Ano ba yung mga nakasulat? Yung contest.
Yung contest natin. Yes. All right. We actually have a list of winning entries. And the secretary has selected the winners for the best coffee bubble quotation or caption. We will announce them in due time. All right, so watch for the space because we are going to announce the winners of both the caption contest and the best coffee mug. Best coffee mug. So best coffee mug, make sure that you post a copy of a picture of your coffee mug, and we will go over that list in due time. All right. Okay, so meron tayong napiling tatlong best quotations. The secretary will read them
Okay, ito na rin ang closing remarks ko. Galing sa DOST Cordillera kay Hasmin Donaal. Maraming salamat po, Panginoon, sa 63 taon na ipinagkaloob ninyo sa DOST, ahensya na pinagkakatiwalaan ng tao. Maraming salamat po sa mga empleyado ng ahensya at sa mga stakeholders. Mula kay Director Celia Ilumba, 547,200 minutes. I think that's 63 years. Ano? Marami pang pwedeng magawa. Ilang nicer centers pa yan at ilang pang innovation centers. Maraming scholar pa ng bayan as future scientists and engineers. So help me God and always, not as I will, but as you will. And finally, from Donna Rakisa ng Ganda ng Negosyo Media. Ganda Negosyo Media, babangon ng Pilipinas kasama ang DOST. Pero ang totoong nasa isip ko, doon sa bubble na yon, paano ko kaya sasagutin ang mga audit observation ng COA?
Ayan po. Okay, so mga kaibigan, dito po nagtatapos ang ating celebration ng 63rd anniversary ng DOST. Ang dami-dami nating accomplishments na kailangan i-celebrate, and we celebrate better with a cup of coffee, all right? Sabi nga nila, true love is a brewed coffee. It takes time and effort. Kung nagmamadali ka, 3-in-1 bagay sa'yo. Sweet, but can't commit. Hindi ba? Sabi nga rin, ang relasyon parang kape yan. Lumalamig pag napababayaan. Di po ba? Gusto ko kape, kapeling ka palagi. Di ba? What do you call a sad cup of coffee? It's called a depresso. Okay ba yun? All right, we should get some coffee because I'm liking you a latte. All right. a lot, okay. Porque ba nervyos ako, adik na sa kape, hindi ba pwedeng nandyan ka kasi? All right, so ang dami nating pwedeng pag-usapan over a cup of coffee. I think the world goes round not only with a spoonful of sugar but also with a cupful of hot steaming coffee. So maraming salamat sa ating mga sponsors araw na ito at sa lahat sa inyo na sumali dito sa Coffee Chat with SecBoy on DOST 63rd anniversary. Sana pagpalain kayo ng Panginoon, keep safe, be always careful, and ever grateful wherever you are. Thank you and maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Isang maganda at mainit na araw sa ating lahat.
Dapat nating sariwain kabayanihan, tapat ng ating lahi. Sana ay huwag sayangin